went in. It's a monastery full of monks are her neighbors.
Oh, really? Oh, boy.
The monks are putting it?
Well, I mean,
They signed the lease, or?
I'm guessing it comes from, higher up, like somewhere higher up in the Catholic Church, but it's the monastery's land.
It's a lot of money to be had. They're paying a lot of money
and
to tap in there.
Seemingly shoots right out of the ground, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but you gotta, it's a little invasive to get to it.
Yeah.
But once the damage occurs, I'm understanding, you don't get your water back.
Yeah.
Once it happens, and ours is a shallow drilling. Ours is not Marcellus shale.
What's the formation they're in, do you know?
I don't know the formation they're in, but I think they're shy of 2,000 feet down.
Okay.
So it is a shallow drilling, gas drilling. I would like to believe that Marcellus shale, I've seen a lot of their cementing procedures, and it's a lot more intensive than just one case of cement. Mm-hmm. It's several layers. So I really believe that, if people are going to be there and supervise this and make sure that all the cementing is properly done, everything's done correctly, and things are meant to cure and do what the law states that they're supposed to do, then I would like to think there probably wouldn't be a problem. And I think that's DEP stance. If you do it exactly the way we say you're supposed to do it, you shouldn't have a concern. But the concern lies is nobody's going to be sitting there watching. They're just trying to poke a hole and just get her done. So, if that's going to occur, then it's going to be on a really big scale if something happens on Marcellus shale.
Well, like you said, not only poke the hole and get it done, but poke the hole, there's no cement return. That's okay. We're going to pressure it anyway. You pressure it too much, well, that's okay. We're going to frack anyway.
Yeah, you shouldn't have been able to frack a well.
Shouldn't have been able to do any of that after. She had to move on after that cement did not return.
That should have been plugged, and
You guys were saying a little bit before about, I guess, tension, I guess is what I'll call it, from editorials in the newspaper, and you guys said yourselves, you here on the street and your neighbors, you guys have kind of made a stir in the community about this. Talk to me a little bit about the tension. Like you were saying, your husband doesn't like you to take the dog out by yourself.
He doesn't like me to go places alone.
Yeah.
I got called out. I'm a teacher, and it wasn't even my class that it happened, but there was an environmental class, and one of the projects was when this big oil spill happened here in Hedgehog, that teacher sent kids out here to take pictures, just, it's part of the class. It's an environmental science class.
Out here to your street?
Yep, and the kids were harassed. The drillers asked if I was their teacher. They told them it was a crime scene. They weren't allowed to take pictures or video footage, and if they did, they were going to take their cameras. Later on, I got spoken to by the superintendent that a school board member and a parent had called that I was demonizing these drillers and that I'm not allowed to do that, and I'm not allowed, and I said I haven't. Not that we haven't talked about it. It was a whole topic about water quality in the chemistry class. I mentioned my water.
What class?
I teach chemistry, juniors, seniors. Okay. I've never said anything nasty about the drillers. I've just told what's happened. Mm-hmm. Certainly I'm allowed to do that. I said an example is like when that oil spill happened. I didn't say to the kids, oh, these people are pieces of crap. I said, you're supposed to have a dike around the tank that holds everything plus 150%, I think it is, of what's in the tank, so that if there is a spill, it doesn't get past that site. Apparently that wasn't there because it's in the creek. That's what I said.
Is the creek still oily?
I'm not sure.
No, I think we've had some pretty good rains, and they did have a crew that came in.
And she said, well, if you're not an expert in the oil and gas industry, you can't say that. And I'm thinking, well, why can't I? We teach the Constitution. Are we experts in the Constitution? Are we experts on Nazis? But we teach all this stuff.
That's a pretty good point.
You know what I mean? Like, I didn't say, oh, they're negligent and they did that on purpose, and those there was no editorial.
Well, what if a kid were to come up and ask you, how did the Exxon Valdez crash? Why did it crash, teacher? Well, because the captain was drunk?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You can't demonize the captain, can you?
No, she told me that I had to give them all of the paper, have them look at pictures of that site, if we're not supposed to take them, and give them paperwork that says you should have a dike and let them figure out oh, it should have had this. Well, if we taught kids like that every single topic, you'd never get past chapter 1.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah, it's really. I mean,
it was
colleges
just
were.
totally. It was harassment.
You
Is
do.
what it was.
Yeah.
It was just trying to shut me up and kind of intimidate me in my workplace.
Yeah. How about you, Dave? You feel safe?
Safe? Not necessarily. I mean, we worry. I think the big thing would be all the negative articles.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, we've been trying to get the city water run up here, so we have reliable water. And of course, you get articles in the paper where people's opinions are a little different than that. Well, they shouldn't be paying for something that we need reliable water. Bottom line.
And
You guys-
ideally, we agree. We don't think that taxpayers
Right.
should have to pay
We
for
do
it.
not
We think
agree
the driller
either.
should have to pay for it. The driller is the problem. They should pay for the water. But when that doesn't
Because you
happen...
guys were happy on your wells before, right?
Oh,
Absolutely.
wonderfully happy.
Yep. Yes.
You couldn't have paid me to take city water before this
Right.
happened. I loved my well.
No.
And you got down the hill, what, 0.2 of a mile where they have city water. They're in the same. They're paying the same taxes you guys are.
Yep.
Right.
Same township.
Yep.
Yep.
Whatever.
Same township, yeah, I'm not sure. But similar taxes. There's some, our houses up on our street, they range all over the board from, I can only imagine, to, $1 million homes to, $50,000.
Yeah,
so
when-
we're all across the board with doctors living on
I
the street.
drove all the way back down to the other side, and there's some big houses, and there's some
Yeah.
big houses in that Sleepy Hollow down there.
Yeah.
Ironically, they are getting city water because they had a petition. I think it said in the paper, 15 people signed a petition that they would like city water, and so they're going to get city water.
There's only like 15
And they're
houses
having
in that
no-
neighborhood.
But this hill, we need city water. but
They've got no water issues. They just want to have the city water. They're going to get it. We've got issues, and we'd like to have it, and we can't get it.
They're downhill.
Right.
If they were to put wells in,
Yeah.
they'd probably have the issue. I mean, that's just a guess.
Right.
Yeah.
But this last guy I talked to over in Bedford County, he told me he must have been 30 times that day. Water rolls downhill. He didn't say water.
That's and
Right.
that was my deciding factor on testing my water. I'm like, you know what? If they were below me, I wouldn't test my water, but they're above me,
Right.
and it's
Well, and even that, if it's gas rising, it's the problem. Obviously, we have
Right.
water that was catching on fire. They're gonna go
Yeah.
right by your house and up above you. And back
Yeah.
down and-
now they're saying, they'll give letters out to the driller is supposed to give out letters to people with their water supplies within 1,000 feet of drilling to notify homeowners that drilling activity is occurring. Now, it's been determined that I'm within that 1,000 feet, but I never got a letter. There was another neighbor up the street, the same thing. So there's some iffy, issues with that. Regardless whether you're in 1,000 feet or not, if you're having problems, you can still contact the DEP, and they still will investigate. And if they do, they can determine whether, if drilling activity has occurred, and has actually interrupted your well. Just so people know that I'm supposedly out of the 1,000 foot for the letter, but the wells that actually influenced my water well were approximately 2,700 feet away. So these are much further away than what these people are thinking that any activity could occur to ruin my water supply.
My largest frustration is that Pennsylvania Oil and Gas Act says if they drill within 1,000 feet of your water supply, there is something called presumptive liability, where the driller is presumed responsible. If your water goes south, the guilt automatically, if they're that close to your water well, is placed on the driller. And they have to prove that they did not do that. That is not how it works. We have been tasked with proving that it did. So in my situation, there's no doubt. I had the best water in the world. I mean, people would come over, bottle it, take it with them. Everyone loved our water. I loved our water. I don't drink it now. I don't give it to my dog. I don't cook with it, nothing. I have 3 wells drilled within 1,000 feet of my water well. But the gas company, they're not presumed responsible. DEP does their test for their little 18 things. And as long as you don't have those 18 things, which, by the way, none of them are benzene, xylene, like all these things that go along with drilling, they don't test for any of that. They test for their little 18 parameters. And if you don't have those, then they just write you off. And all of a sudden now you are placed with, the burden is on you to prove. why your water is contaminated or that it even is.